So you're that kind of person, right? Always spotting the potential, figuring out how to make something amazing from, well, maybe not much at all.
Always resourceful.
Exactly. If that sounds like you, then you're definitely in the right place. Welcome to this deep dive.
Yeah, today we're getting into the really essential stuff, maybe less glamorous, but absolutely critical.
We're talking legal, financial, and organizational foundations for your startup, and the kicker, doing it all on a $0 budget.
It sounds like a challenge, and okay, it is. But every solid business, big or small start, needs this framework. It's about smooth operations, staying legit.
And our mission today is basically to dig through the info we've gathered and pull out practical, totally free strategies, give you the insights to build that pace without needing a bunch of cash up front.
Right, because we want to empower you to build something sustainable.
Now, I know what you might be thinking. Legal, financial, on $0. That sounds true.
It does. And yeah, those things can get expensive, no doubt, but the sources we looked into really focus on things you can do right now for free to get those core structures set up.
Okay, good. Because that's often a major hurdle. So where do we start? Legal structures.
Makes sense. That's really the backbone, legally speaking.
Yeah.
The materials we reviewed talk about the main ones you hear about: sole proprietorship, partnership, LLC, and corporation.
Okay, break those down a bit. What's the key difference?
Fundamentally, it often comes down to liability, like who's on the hook if the business owes money or gets sued, and how many owners are involved.
Right.
So sole proprietorship. Legally, you are the business. Pretty simple, one owner. Partnership, same idea, but with multiple owners.
Okay, simple enough.
But then LLCs and corporations, they create a bit more separation. The goal there is to protect your personal stuff, your house, your savings from business debts.
That separation sounds important. But again, the cost. How do you figure out which is right for you without paying a lawyer thousands?
That's where the free resources are absolute gold.
Right.
Our research points heavily towards the Small Business Administration, the SBA. Their website, fantastic.
SBA.
Yeah, tons of free information. They explain each structure, what it means for liability, taxes, which is a big one, and, the paperwork you'll need to keep up with. Seriously, spend some time on their site. It's worth it.
That's a great solid tip. Government agency info, probably reliable and definitely free. Any other free help out there for the legal side?
Well, connected to the SBA is SCORE, Service Corps of Retired Executives. It's a nonprofit and SBA partner.
Oh, I've heard of SCORE.
They offer free mentoring. You can actually talk to experienced business folks one-on-one, and they run free workshops, often covering exactly this startup legal stuff. Getting that kind of personal advice, invaluable when you have no budget.
Free mentoring from people who've been there. That's huge. Okay, so we can get advice. What about the actual documents? Contracts, NDAs, that kind of thing. Are we just staring at a blank Word doc?
Hopefully not. The sources we looked at mention free legal templates you can find online. Now, big caveat here. Yeah. They are not a substitute for real legal advice, especially if things get complicated. But for basic stuff, they can be a decent starting point.
Like what kind of basic stuff?
Think non-disclosure agreements, maybe a simple service contract, or a basic privacy policy for your website, things like that.
Okay, so where do we look for those? Any specific places mentioned?
The info points to sites like Docracy and also LegalZoom. Now, LegalZoom obviously has paid services, but they do offer some pre-templates too.
Right.
Docracy focuses more on open source style document sharing.
Got it.
But the absolute critical thing our sources stress is, don't just download and use them blindly. You have to read them carefully, adapt them, make sure they fit your business, your specific needs, and super important, the laws where you operate. State laws, local laws, they vary a lot.
Right. So templates are a tool, a starting point, but not the whole solution. Makes sense. Okay, that gives us some paths for the legal side without spending. Let's shift gears. Finances. Another area that feels like it needs expensive software.
Absolutely. And when you've got zero budget, fancy accounting software is probably off the table. But the good news, according to our research, your best friend here might be something you already have.
Don't tell me. The spreadsheet.
The trusty spreadsheet, exactly. The sources we reviewed really hammer this home. It can be incredibly powerful, especially early on.
Okay, I believe it, but what are we actually doing with the spreadsheet? Just listing numbers.
It's more than just listing. You need meticulous tracking. Every penny in, every penny out. No exceptions.
Every single one.
Every single one. But crucially, you also need to categorize everything. Where did that income come from? What was that expense for? Supplies.
Yeah.
Marketing. software subscription.
Why is the categorization so important?
Why? Because that's how you understand your cash flow. Where's the money actually going? Where is it coming from? It lets you see patterns, understand what's working, what's costing too much. It helps you make smart decisions even when the numbers are small.
Okay, so detailed tracking and categorizing. Got it. Any specific spreadsheet tools recommended, or just any old spreadsheet?
Google Sheets gets mentioned specifically in the materials we looked at, mainly because it's free and great for collaboration. If you have a partner, or maybe you want to share with that SCORE mentor we talked about, it's easy.
Makes sense. Collaboration is key sometimes.
And beyond spreadsheets, there are actually some free online tools mentioned that are built more for finance tasks.
Oh, like what?
Tools like Invoice Ninja and Wave came up. They both offer free plans. Now, these free plans will have limits, obviously, but they can handle things like creating professional-looking invoices, which is important, and some basic accounting functions.
So a step up from just spreadsheets for things like invoicing.
Exactly. Might streamline things a bit. But the core message, really, from all sources is disciplined tracking with basic tools is infinitely better than no tracking at all, because you're waiting until you can afford fancy software.
Couldn't agree more. Ignoring the numbers early on is just asking for trouble later. Okay, legal foundation, financial tracking. What about just keeping everything, organized, the day-to-day stuff?
Yeah, the operational side, project management, communication. Our research highlights how crucial this becomes, even if you're just a one-person show right now, or maybe have one or two collaborators. Things can get messy fast.
Tell me about it. So how do we keep the chaos managed without spending money?
Again, free tools come to the rescue. For project management, the sources suggest checking out Trello, Asana, and Monday.com. All of them have pretty usable free tiers.
Right, the Kanban boards and task lists.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Great for creating to-do lists, assigning tasks, even if you're assigning them to yourself, just to stay organized, seeing what's getting done, keeping things moving forward. Find one whose style you like.
Good options. And communication, especially if you do start working with others, maybe remotely.
Super important. The materials mention platforms like Slack or Discord. Both have popular free versions, or even just well-managed email lists for certain things.
Slack and Discord are pretty common now.
Yeah, they're great for quick chats, sharing files. The key thing, according to our sources, isn't necessarily which platform you pick, but picking one and being consistent. Set up clear channels, make sure everyone knows how and when to use it. Avoid scattering conversations all over the place.
Consistency seems to be a theme here. Okay, so we've got tools for legal, financial, and organization. What about the overall mindset, the approach?
Resourcefulness. That word pops up a lot in the research on bootstrapping. You just have to get creative about getting what you need without spending money.
Okay, like what? Give me an example of that kind of resourcefulness.
Bartering is a classic example mentioned. Let's say you're great at writing code,
Yeah.
but marketing feels like a foreign language.
Sounds familiar for some tech founders.
Right. Maybe you find someone who's a marketing whiz but needs help building a simple website or app feature. You trade skills. No cash changes hands, but you both get something valuable you needed.
Ah, the barter system. Trading skills instead of money. I like that. What else falls under resourceful?
Networking is huge, both online and, when possible, offline. Go to virtual industry meetups, join relevant Facebook groups or LinkedIn groups, participate in forums, talk to people.
Why networking specifically?
You can find potential collaborators, maybe even informal mentors. You learn things just by talking to people in your field, and connections can lead to unexpected opportunities. And then there's just learning.
Learning.
Yeah, the sheer amount of free educational content out there is staggering. The sources specifically point to YouTube channels dedicated to business topics, podcasts like, well, this one, and online course platforms.
Soaking up knowledge for free.
Exactly. Many big platforms like Coursera or ADX let you audit courses for free. You don't get the certificate, but you get the knowledge. Dedicate some time each week. Learn about marketing, sales, finance basics, whatever you feel weakest on. It pays off.
So it's not just about saving money, it's investing your time smartly in learning and connecting. That makes sense. The research also mentioned a specific approach, a methodology.
Ah, yes, the lean startup methodology. This comes up frequently as being ideal for zero-budget situations.
Lean startup, what's the core idea there?
It's really about cycles. Build a minimum version of your idea, get it out there, measure how people react, learn from that data, and then adapt. It's constant iteration. Test your assumptions constantly.
So less about having a perfect grand plan up front.
Much less. It's about being agile, being ready to pivot. The sources really emphasize this. Be prepared to change direction if your initial idea isn't working or the feedback points somewhere else.
Don't be married to your first idea.
Exactly. Think of your initial plan as just a starting point, a hypothesis to be tested. Flexibility and responding quickly to what you learn are absolutely vital when you don't have cash reserves to burn through testing the wrong thing for too long.
That really fits the whole bootstrapping ethos. Be lean, be adaptable. Okay, this has been incredibly practical. To kind of wrap things up, what's the big takeaway for someone listening who wants to build a business from scratch, financially speaking?
I think the main message is it takes creativity, serious resourcefulness, and, let's be honest, a lot of hustle.
Yeah.
It's definitely challenging,
No doubt.
but it is absolutely doable. The sources make that clear. By focusing early on these foundational pieces, getting your basic legal structure sorted, tracking your finances diligently, staying organized with project management, and communicating clearly, you build that essential solid base.
A base you can actually grow from, even without that initial pile of cash.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Sustainable growth, even bootstrapped.
Awesome. And speaking of growth, getting the word out is key. So in our next deep dive, we're going to tackle exactly that. No-cost marketing strategies. How to make noise for your business without opening your wallet. Definitely join us for that.
Yeah, that'll be a good one.
But until then, here's something to chew on based on what we talked about today. Thinking about your situation, which of these areas, legal, financial, or organizational, feels like tackling it early could give you the biggest bang for your buck in terms of preventing headaches later on? Where would a little proactive effort now save you the most pain down the line?
Good question to ponder.
Definitely something to think about. Until our next deep dive, keep building.